want me to look at the camera, or do you want me to look at you?
Anyway, it's fine.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna start, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, first question. Being aware of the rising racist attacks and a recent one in Tottenham, which you used to live, how do you feel about roaming around on your own?
To be honest, it doesn't really affect me very much. I think it's because I kind of ignore it. Most of the time I'm just on my phone listening to music, so...
Okay, previous to you removing your hijab, so like it's quite a heavy expression of your identity, did it double the pressure on you being black and Muslim?
No, I mean there were a couple of times where I experienced a couple of racist comments, but a lot of the time, because I don't watch, like our family doesn't really watch the news, they don't really get involved in politics. I didn't really know any of the stuff that was going on. So, like I remember that time when the guy with the machete, like, killed people. We were on our way to an exam, and one of my friends was completely panicking about it, and I just didn't even realise anything had gone on. Like, nothing changed.
Okay. How does it feel to be degraded even within Muslim communities due to your skin colour?
It's sad, because a lot of Islam, like, when you get right down to it, it's about peace and, like, love and acceptance. And I think that Islam has kind of morphed into, in some parts, a cultural thing instead of, like, a religious thing. And being affected by that, it's a bit... Yeah, it's sad. It's like, well, why? Why would you want to do that?
In what setting are you most conscious of your identity?
When I'm doing an activity that's generally not very people of colour. So, for example, skating. At one point I was the only girl in a scarf who was skating, like, properly to a higher level. And I was really conscious of that fact when I was doing my test, and I was, like, there in my scarf, and there was all these white people around me. But also, like, dance, I get quite conscious of that. And gymnastics was a thing that I was quite conscious of as well. Yeah.
Okay. When do you feel most confident and carefree? A situation where you feel you're not judged because you're Muslim and black?
When I'm surrounded by people that are just really accepting, I think, and also with my family, like my immediate family, they don't really care what I do so long as I'm happy doing it. But I think it's mostly when I'm around the people that just don't care about whether I'm Muslim or white or black or whatever they're.
Were you always as confident and appreciative of your identity as you are now?
No, I just kind of take it for granted, I guess, and also because I'm mixed. I don't have such a strong connection to one identity or the other. It's more I take what I like from both cultures, and also I guess I kind of take what I enjoy from Islam as well.
You have the option.
Yeah.
Which part of your identity is more criticized, being black or being Muslim?
I think being Muslim sometimes. But it depends kind of in what circle I'm with. So, for example, if I'm with the kind of Muslim circle, then there aren't really questions. It's kind of, sometimes it feels like there are judgmental stares about why I'm not wearing my scarf. And with my dad, there was like a big hullabaloo about me taking off my scarf as well. But in some circles, it's more that I'm black, I guess, because like all this stuff about Black Lives Matter and things like that, like I don't have a big stand in it. I don't have the biggest stand in politics at all, really, so like I don't really like labeling myself as anything, and I guess that's what kind of causes the big discussions.
How do you feel when you hear of these racist attacks?
I feel really sad that things like this is still happening. But I also kind of get it, because there's a lot of upheaval in what's happening today with with Trump and Brexit and all that. And I get that this is people lashing out. I just kind of wish they were doing it in a different way.
Yeah. What have your loved ones, parents, carers advised you to ensure your safety?
It's not such a big issue for me, but whenever, the advice from my mum is basically just to say thank you for sharing and walk on.
That's it. What steps do you think could be taken within the Muslim community to get rid of this prejudice against blacks?
Against black people?
Yeah.
I think really understanding that Islam is not about the culture you are, it's about the religion that you are. And like I said, the fundamentals of Islam is teaching about peace and tolerance and acceptance, and going back to that aspect of Islam but like really having those be the lessons that are taught in the schools and in the mosques.
Okay. In what ways are you active in advocating or being proud of your identity?
I guess I'll openly have it, like anyone who wants to know about Islam, I'll tell them what I can about it from my experience. I'm not a sheikh or anything, so I can't really give them the full aspect, but...
Okay. Who do you praise for addressing issues like these and having who's have influenced the change?
I don't really know whose influence changed, to be honest. Can't answer that question.
So the hadith you might be familiar with, an Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over Arab. Also, a white has no superiority over black, nor black has any superiority over white. How much of an impact do you think this has had on the Muslim community, or maybe not?
I think that when it was first given, the hadith was first given to us, I don't know what prophet gave it, but I think that would have been really impactful at the time. And I think that because we haven't had such a big influence in regards to there being a prophet in this century, it's kind of lost itself on the way to... Yeah.
Okay. Has any recent news of the racist attacks influenced on your decision to remove the hijab? If not, what was the reason?
It wasn't really the attacks. The reason I decided to take off my scarf was because I grew up, I'm Muslim, I was born into Islam, and my parents were converts. And so they got to choose, but because they got to choose, and the circle that my dad ran in was pretty strict, it was a lot of, it was kind of like I didn't really have a choice in anything. Because if I did, then I was allowed to kind of question it, but only to really question it to further it. That's what I felt anyway. Only to really question it to further my understanding of Islam. And then my mum and my dad divorced, and I was living with my dad. And my mum went off to America, and she came back, and she wasn't wearing the scarf anymore. And I was really angry. And then I realized I was really angry because I was jealous that she got to take her scarf off. And so I kind of started thinking about it, and I realised that the reason why I was wearing my scarf wasn't to please Allah, it was to please my dad. And that wasn't why I wanted to wear it, so that was part of it. And also, I wanted to find out who I was without my scarf, because it is a really big part of a Muslim girl's identity, whether they choose to wear it or not. That's the identifier for being a Muslim. And I wanted to see what it was like without it.
How do you feel now after making this decision? Do you feel safer and confident?
I don't think there's not very much difference in confidence. I was always pretty confident with what I was doing anyway, because I believed that what I was doing was right. I think the biggest difference was really being really scared to disappoint my dad. So there were times where I would go out without my scarf and I'd feel really wrong not wearing it, but then I would put it on and I'd also feel really uncomfortable wearing it as well. So it was kind of figuring out what I wanted. Did I want to carry on pleasing my dad, or did I want to kind of discover what Islam meant to me as a Muslim teenager.
As well as your hijab, have you had second thoughts on the religion Islam overall?
Definitely, there were times when I was like, well, why? Especially when there were like, like my dad would tell me rules about girls not being able to sing in front of guys, not being able to play string instruments, and that was kind of where my focus was going, just naturally. So there was a lot of like, well, why? That doesn't make any sense. And also, I guess there was like, there were a couple of moments where I was like, is Islam for me? But I really like the basics that I have in it. Like, it's helped me be a person who's so much more like tolerant and so much more kinder than I think I could have been if I hadn't been a Muslim. And also, I don't do drugs, alcohol, like I don't do things like that, which I think has really helped me in life. Yeah. So yeah, I really like that basis that I had in childhood.
What were some of the comments you received for removing the hijab?
Why? Oh yeah, not so much the stereotypical ones, oh, were you repressed, nothing like that. It was a lot of just why? Why are you doing this? And are you sure? Have you looked it up? Have you read the hadith? That one hadith that is a bit ambiguous with its meaning, but yeah.
What difference have you noticed from your experience in a hijab to not wearing one currently?
Well, I don't feel as out of place when I'm doing things like ice skating or gymnastics, dance. But that was probably like a mental thing. But other than that, I think everything's pretty normal. I have to worry about my hair now, which is not something that I'm used to.
Yeah. Last one. Are you considering to wear it again soon? If yes, what are you waiting for to judge whether it's the right time or not?
It's a good question. I think when I took it off, I was saying, yeah, I will go back to it. But again, that was because I was pleasing my dad. And thinking about it now, I'm kind of wondering if I don't really want to wear it, but is that because now I'm getting used to like not wearing it and kind of having a bit more attention from like guys than I did beforehand? Or is it because like I just don't want to? Like, I think I can be a good Muslim without having to wear a scarf.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is I don't know.
Thank you.